What are you looking at? Hello again, boys and girls, it's Mother Moocake here. Lovely to see you again. Now, you don't need me to tell you this, but dating at the best of times is a very difficult thing to do. And at the worst of times, it's a massive pain in your hole. However, with the rise of the internet and mobile technology, especially in the last 15 years or so, what was already a minefield has been transformed into 4D chess on a minefield. It sounds a bit surreal to say it out loud, but as of time of recording, online dating is 30 years old, but it's only in the last decade and a half of that time that it's transformed and devolved into the mindless, doom-scrolling dystopia that we all know and love today. The direction that online dating has taken is solely because of the decisions, innovations and machinations of one particular dating app. And even to this day, it's the one particular dating app that everybody thinks of when you say dating app. Tinder. I've no doubt that everybody watching is well familiar with this wretched hellscape of a realm, and if you're not, I really do have to question what the fuck kind of hole that you're living in. No doubt many of you have used it and had horrendous and unnecessary experiences on it over the years. I know I have. And so I don't think my opinions of Tinder have ever been particularly high. Maybe I'm a bit biased in making this video. I first downloaded the app sometime in 2018, and as I'm sure many others have, uninstalled it and re-downloaded it lots of times over the following years. I think the most I ever continuously used it for was during COVID, and that was for about 3-4 months, but other than that, I'd normally download it for 2 to 3 weeks, then get sick of it, and then uninstall it for 6 to 8 months or so. So, when a couple of months ago, I decided to re-download Tinder again, I honestly wasn't expecting much. I hadn't used it in almost 3 years by that point, and that's mainly because I'd been in a relationship and out of the dating pool for the last 2.5 years. But eventually I found myself splashing back into the pond at the beginning of January this year, and after spending a few months doing all the stereotypical white girl stuff, you know, living for myself and treating myself like the absolute queen that I am, I thought to myself, perhaps it was hesitantly time to get back into the dating scene. And so, like any absolute schmuck who's got no idea what they're doing, I decided the first course of action would be to re-download fucking Tinder. Now, I originally wrote in my little script here that my recent experiences of Tinder were disappointing but not surprising, and I have to take that back, honestly. My experiences were disappointing and surprising. And this is because, even with all my pessimism, it was still worse than I expected somehow. For a start, there were an unholy number of reminders plastered all over Tinder that I hadn't signed up for one of its premium subscriptions. Just inserted everywhere that they could be, like one too many mid-roll ads on a YouTube video. Any space or chance that it got, and there was another exclusive Tinder Gold feature that I couldn't live without. I got so many notifications on my phone as well, and I don't mean from the hundreds of matches that I obviously got. It's quite clear that I'm drowning in pussy, doesn't need saying. But no, memes aside, what I'm talking about is, even when I hadn't used the app for like several days, I would still get dozens of notifications every day about things like keeping people waiting, exclusive offers from Tinder Gold, and about how right now, right this moment in time, was the best time to start swiping. It felt like the app was constantly trying to make me play more, pay more, or to consistently keep a streak of swipes going in order to maximise my matches. It felt like, dare I say, tactics such as peer pressure and FOMO being used, but what could I possibly know and say about that? What's certain though, is that my latest and last tango with Tinder has left me feeling more skeptical and more infuriated about the app than ever before in my sporadic 7 years of using it. I couldn't explain it or pinpoint exactly why, but I knew in my heart of hearts that I didn't just think Tinder was a little bit naff anymore. I actually thoroughly despised it. And so I've spent some time ingesting blogs, newsreels, YouTube videos, and documentaries, all in an effort to try and understand my newfound disdain. And after a bit of time, I think I finally figured it out. Today, I, Mother Moocake, would be absolutely delighted to tell you why I despise Tinder, and why you should despise it too.
What we do here is go back.
Tinder was first launched in 2012, a year that feels like a lifetime ago, to be honest, with the amount of carnage we've seen recently. It was founded by a budding Californian startup company called Hatch Labs. At the beginning of 2012, the company hired one Sean Rad as the general manager of another completely different app about credit card loyalty, of all things. Within weeks of joining, though, Rad had pitched the novel new idea of a dating app, which he originally called Matchbox, and over the next few months, he slowly but surely gathered the support of various high-influential people within the company. People that I can't be bothered to list, and that you don't want to hear. Along the journey, he decided to himself that Matchbox sounded a bit too similar to Match.com, and so by September of 2012, Sean Rad had himself a fully developed beta version of an app called Tinder. Now this makes it all sound very entrepreneurial and romantic, doesn't it? I mean, a load of close friends, spending a lot of close time together in a shed or a basement, alone in the dark, hoping and dreaming to create this app that will change their future with only each other's company for... Yeah, it's not like this, I'm afraid. No, it's not. Hatch Labs, that innocent little startup company, is in fact owned by another, much larger company called Match Group. And to put it very simply, this company started its life as Match.com. You know, the world's first online dating site, launched all the way back in 1995. I mean, it still exists today, though, to be honest, it is boomer central at this point. Basically, Match.com was and still is owned by an even larger company again called IAC. It's like a fucking Russian doll at this point. IAC started by just owning Match.com, but over the course of the late 90s and the 2000s especially, the company spent its time buying out and collecting as many other dating sites as it possibly could. And by 2009, it had amassed so many that it decided to merge all of those various dating companies into one bigger company, a dating conglomerate called Match Group. Today, Match Group has amassed a colossal number of different dating apps, including Hinge, Cupid, Plenty of Fish, and a myriad of other, frankly, bizarre sites. About the only missing addition from this fine collection is Bumble, but that was founded by one of Tinder's co-founders and ex-marketing presidents, so the apple really doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, just look at some of this shit, man. The amount of different people meet sites here is unbelievable. Asian people, Latina people, black Christian people, divorced, Catholic, Gen X, baby boomer, liberal, Republican, and perhaps my favourite of the lot, marriage-minded people meet. Which just sounds like Ashley Madison with more steps. Anyway, the main point I'm getting at is that Tinder is just one of many dating apps in this collective conglomerate of sleaze. And that's really not a good start already. However, from what I've read and watched as well, it seems like Tinder is the crowning jewel of Match Group. It's certainly the most profitable one anyway. Its earnings have increased every year for the last decade now, pulling in $194 billion in 2024. It's by far the most popular dating site in the world too, with some 71 million users across the globe according to some stats in 2022. It is the undisputed top dog of online dating, the Bruce Lee of swiping singles, and it's got no sign of slowing down this momentum. And all of this success and favour can be attributed down to three things. It's addictive, it's unfair, and it's expensive.
Swiper, no swiping! Swiper, no swiping!
It was 2013 when things started to take off for Tinder. The first year or so of the app's success had been pretty successful, with it spreading out slowly from the several US college campuses that had tested the beta version of the app. The pace of expansion would rapidly pick up though, with the introduction of the swipe feature, which has become so commonplace and mind-numbing by now that we almost fail to notice it. But in 2013 though, it was absolutely revolutionary. Dating sites have been around since the 1990s, and up until this point in time, they were quite long-winded and labour-intensive. In order to set up your profile, there'd be miles of shit that you'd have to read. And then after that, there'd be millions of questions about yourself to answer, and a myriad of different preferences to list, all so that you could be matched with your perfect partner. And once that's finally all done, you then have to spend hours going through other people's profiles and their pictures and their big long profile description and list of deal breakers, and quite frankly, that's about as fun as filling out a government tax form. Tinder was able to tackle this monotonous monstrosity in a myriad of different ways. For one, it made signing up a lot easier because you could do so with your existing Facebook account. You could also port details and photos over from your Facebook profile, meaning that there was less crap to fill out and less time wasted looking for all your cutest pictures. Even then though, there's still not much you have to fill out to get your Tinder account rolling. A lot of the details you can fill out are optional and can be skipped anyway, and Tinder even encourages you to keep your bio short and snappy. And that's still the case even today, with the average number of photos on any Tinder profile being about 3 to 4, and the average bio length being a single sentence. And yes, that sentence usually is a very shit, overused pickup line. I'll make your whole week, or your whole week. You get it? That joke's a lot funnier if it's typed and not said in a stupid voice. The swipe feature, though, as I alluded to, is the real game changer that really got Tinder surging in popularity. It allows, and perhaps even forces its users to make quick-fire decisions on a potential partner. And this is extremely beneficial for Tinder because its target audience are 18 to 25-year-olds, who these days, let's be honest, have the attention span of a concussed seagull. Save all that scrolling and reading for boomers. I mean, you don't even have to open their bio or check a second picture. You can just instantly swipe left and right on all your matches and cast rapid-fire judgment. Now, you might be thinking, well, great stuff. I mean, this has surely sped up all of that boring shit. And you'd be right, with the average user of Tinder only spending 2.7 seconds on a profile before deciding whether they swipe left or right. However, while it sped the process up, it's also made it infinitely more addictive. Time for a quick psychology lesson, kids. Today, for no particular reason at all that definitely won't become relevant later on, we're going to be learning about a particular condition called operant conditioning. In layman's terms, this is a process by which people's voluntary behaviour can be trained by exposing them to stimulus repeatedly. There are actually a few different types of operant conditioning. You can use it to increase or reduce a pattern behaviour, and it can be done with both positive and negative stimuli. Imagine, for example, that you're trying to teach a 5-year-old not to pick their nose, and every time that they do pick their nose, you get one of those air horn things, and you blast it fucking point blank straight into their shitty little eardrums. Now, this would be admittedly very cruel and also a bit funny. But either way, it would eventually instill a pattern of behaviour in this child's mind. Every time that I do this, the horrible noise goes off in my ear. So I'll stop doing this, and that will stop the noise. Operant conditioning can also be achieved using positive stimuli, obviously, and ever since this theory got blown up in the 1930s, there's been a countless amount of experiments to showcase this, usually involving rats and pigeons. They can be trained to press a little button, which in turn opens up a little hatch and gives them a treat. And just like that, literally with the push of a button, you've trained little Remy the rat here into a monotonous behaviour pattern. Sound familiar yet? You can take this experiment a step further though, with something called the variable ratio schedule. Put simply, this makes that little button that your rat friend presses, it makes it unpredictable. Pressing it just once no longer guarantees you a snack. Of course, you might get lucky and get a snack on the first try. However, you might also have to push it 3 times, 30 times, 300 times before you get your next reward. There's no pattern or guarantee, you just have to keep pushing and pushing in the hope that you get your next reward. And it's been found that even in spite of lowering how probable the button is, it doesn't stop our little rat friends from pushing the button very vigorously. Despite making the button unreliable, our furry little social experiments were not dissuaded from pushing it repeatedly. In fact, they were only motivated more. And so, by combining operant conditioning and the variable ratio schedule, you are left with a phenomenon known as a crippling gambling addiction. Operant conditioning is the addictive power behind every gambling machine ever invented, from slot machines to roulette wheels. And I'm sure by now you've realised all on your own that it's the driving force behind Tinder's swiping system too. This is why keeping things short and snappy is encouraged on the app, and it's why making a very quick and very positive first impression is recommended on every single Tinder blog you're ever going to click on. Because it really doesn't take much of that quickfire swiping to get you caught in some patterned behaviour. And combine that with the rush of dopamine your brain gives you every time you hear that jaunty little match sound, and before you know it, you're a rat caught in a trap.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok.
The old saying when it comes to gambling is that the house always wins. No matter how friendly and polite the bar staff, no matter how many free spins and extra tries and exciting opportunities you're given, the casino that you're playing in is always going to have better odds than you. And it's not too different with Tinder. If we break it down to its simplest terms, the goal of Tinder is to find a partner. Now, whether that partner is for a night or for a lifetime, that's up to you. But that's how you win the game. At the end of the day though, if you win and find that perfect partner, Tinder ultimately loses because you start using the app less. The best case scenario is that you just start using the app less frequently because suddenly you've got lots of new friends to stick your genitals in. But the worst case scenario is that you find your perfect partner, start a relationship, and stop using the app for good. Therefore, even if you are the most charming, good-looking, charismatic wanker out there with above average odds in the dating pool, you are still not guaranteed success on Tinder. You're playing a game, but Tinder makes the rules, controls your odds, and can change any of it however and whenever it likes. So how are your chances affected then? Well, we'll start with some more obvious points and see where we end up, shall we? Firstly, if you're a man, and especially a straight one, your odds are just automatically lower before you even make an account, unfortunately. Men outnumber women on this app by a ratio of about 3 to 1, and admittedly, this isn't a problem that's inherent to Tinder. It's a problem that's inherent to every single dating app you can think of, even the rare few that aren't owned by Match Group. Tinder, however, is apparently notoriously bad for its ratio of men to women. Up until a few years ago, so I've read, the ratio was as high as 9 men to 1 woman. And that's about the levels you'd expect on Grindr, really. This goes a little deeper though, because as well as there being more men on the platform, it seems like they've got less algorithmic chance of getting matches. Statistics from Tinder show that women are much more selective about who they swipe right on, opting for the left approach 95% of the time on average. And yet despite this pickiness, women on average get 2.75 matches a day, while men only get 1.1. Which means that getting a match could take a man up to 50 swipes, while a woman could achieve it in 3. Basically, fellas, we're fucked. Well, actually we're not fucked, that's the whole point, I suppose. Don't you worry though, ladies, Mother Moocake has got something for everybody. Rest assured, we are all fighting an uphill battle against Tinder. It doesn't matter what you are and what shagging utensil you possess, because we are all at the mercy of the sinister and mysterious desirability score. This is basically a secret ranking system on Tinder that determines how often your profile is shown and who it's even shown to in the first place. Match Group and their department of Tinder, they obviously don't give much detail on the desirability score or how it works, and this is mainly because they don't want you to know or to be thinking about the fact there's a secret ranking on your Tinder profile that you cannot determine or change. From what I've gathered, some of the factors that do dictate your rank are your age, your location, how often you swipe right, and the desirability score of the people that swipe right on you. And with the exception of your swiping habits, these are all factors that are completely out of your control. You can't dictate your location all that easily, you can't dictate your age at all, and you certainly can't dictate how Tinder's algorithm ranks the random people that happen to swipe right on your profile. And frankly, this is just an extra kick in the balls for the sake of it, in my opinion. This is an environment where you must look interesting and attractive in about 3 seconds maximum, using only a couple of pictures and a line of text. And on top of all that shit, your profile might just be shown to less people anyway, for reasons entirely out of your control. The house always fucking wins.
We've got to have money.
There is only one way that you can get around all of Tinder's unfair mechanics. One way that you can cheat the system and shoot straight through to the match of your dreams. And in order to pull off this epic hack, you're going to need the following tools. The 16 numbers on the front of your credit card, the expiry date, and the 3 special numbers on the reverse of the card. For the first 3 years of the app's existence, Tinder allowed all of its players to just swipe without limit, although you would get the occasional ad. However, in March of 2015, this all changed, and users were limited to 100 swipes every 12 hours. And this suddenly meant that those not favoured by Tinder's algorithm and the desirability score, they might not be getting a match for a very long time. Fortunately, the solution to the problem was launched at exactly the same time as the 100 swipe limit. How convenient! In the form of Tinder Plus. Aside from giving you your unlimited swipes back and letting you max out your operant conditioning again, Tinder Plus also gave you some brand new exclusive features. At first, all this included was no ads and a passport mode, which effectively allows you to change your location like a VPN would. You can swipe hotties from all across the globe, all while scratching your ass from the comfort of your own bed. Later in 2015, a new rewind feature was introduced, and this allowed Tinder's users to potentially be even more digitally two-faced. The super like was also introduced into the Tinder Plus package alongside rewind. If you super like a profile, it gets a notification that they've liked you, which is basically the equivalent of running to the front of the queue and waving very obviously at them before anybody else gets the chance to do so. Finally, a year later, in October 2016, Tinder released its boost function, and basically, as I'm sure you've guessed, this promises to give your Tinder profile a healthy dose of crack and slap it on the front page of every local person's feed for a limited period of time. The 3 premium features, Rewind, Boost and Super Like, are so powerful in the eyes of Tinder that they are even limited for premium subscribers. You're only allowed a certain amount every day, week or month. Unless, of course, you fancy buying some more. This is all well and good, but in 2017, Tinder Plus was cucked by the unveiling of the new, even more exclusive Tinder Gold. An even more premium feature that gave you access to even more exclusive features to meet your heart's desire. In reality though, the only difference between Tinder Plus and Tinder Gold was that Tinder Gold gave you access to the See Who Likes You section. And I'll give you 3 fucking guesses as to what happens there. If somebody likes you, they'll show up in that section and you can choose whether or not to like them back. However, in a twist of deplorable genius, Tinder has made this section open and visible to all people, even if they're not subscribed to Tinder Gold. In fact, the non-subscriber will even get a ping if somebody's liked them. However, whoever has liked them is blurred out, and you certainly can't choose to accept them or not. Unless you choose to pay up, you just have to hope that you can find this person in the unfathomable depths of Tinder's algorithm. And based on all the algorithmic shit I went through earlier, that's just cruel at this point. Finally then, in September of 2020, Tinder Gold was cucked too, with the grand unveiling of Tinder Platinum, the third and final piece in Tinder's miserable triad. Aside from giving you all the features of Tinder Plus and Gold, it also allows you to see all the people that you've right-swiped on in the last 7 days. And it prioritises your place in the algorithmic queue, meaning that whoever you right-swipe on will see you quicker in their feed. But most importantly, it gives you access to priority likes, which is basically like a super like, but with a note attached to it. Basically, rather than your Tinder crush getting a notification that you like them, they instead get an opening DM from you. So when you think about it, all of Tinder's premium features, no matter what subscription tier that you're on, they all just allow you to sidestep the unfair and difficult mechanics of Tinder, its algorithm, and its compatibility score. Instead of swiping for days and weeks and months, you can just boost your profile to see what's available, or send a direct message to someone you really like, or see who's liked you already. To put it very bluntly, if you're not favoured by the algorithm, which again is something completely out of your control, the only option you've got is to pay. And even if you are favoured by the algorithm, paying will just skyrocket your account light years beyond what you'd ever normally be allowed to achieve on this app. It's in your best interest to pay, and make no mistake, because Tinder gives you constant reminders of this. Every time you run out of likes, Tinder presents you with a little countdown timer until your next set is given to you, just to fuel that operant conditioning a little bit more. And then immediately after that timer, you're presented with all of the premium tier lists and their amazing features. If you happen to be on one of the lower rungs of Tinder's premium tiers, you are still never far away from reminders of the subscriptions above you. And whether you've got a premium subscription or not, there's still the very easy option to buy one-off boosts, super likes, and rewinds. You can also buy them in packs of 5 if you're feeling more economical. It goes without saying really, but the price of these premium features are fucking astronomical, to be honest. Some might even call it excessive and casino-like, but don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen, there's a common theme on this channel for things getting worse, and I'm not about to let you down now. Up until February of 2019, Tinder would increase the price of its premium features for users over 30, in some cases as much as doubling the price. Those who had the toughest time with Tinder's desirability score and got the fewest matches anyway, they had to pay more for the premium features that would fix their problem. With just your bank details and a few clicks that are a little bit too easy, you can solve your loneliness and give yourself a rush of dopamine in one fell swoop. 2 birds with one scummy stone. And while this pricing tactic, shall we call it, doesn't seem to be going on anymore, the fact that it was even done in the first place really should raise some alarm bells in your head.
I don't know what that word means, but thank you.
At the end of the day, despite my grievances, Tinder isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon based on its popularity and its profits. And even if it did vanish, there's likely 1,000,001 other dating apps out there that subscribe to exactly the same unfair rules that Tinder does. And to be honest, I genuinely couldn't give a shit whether Tinder thrives or tanks. I've made a few unsubtle comparisons to gambling at this point, which is another addictive medium that I really don't like very much. But it's not the concept of gambling that annoys me. It's the fact that most people that go into it, they're not well informed about their odds, and how small their odds are, and how small their odds are stacked up compared to the house. And I feel the same about Tinder, to be honest with you. I don't give a shit that it exists, I don't give a shit that people use it and enjoy it, but I wish that people knew more about how it worked and how the odds are so stacked against them all the time. Whether you use Tinder or not, whether you love it or despise it, you deserve to be given a fair and clear understanding of how the rules work before you start playing the game. So I hope that my little video helps with that, though in my humble and biased opinion, I won't be touching Tinder ever again, not even with a 10-foot pole covered in piss. And it's not my place to advise you anything, of course, but I'd recommend that you do the same. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of another video. Thanks very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and thanks so much as well for your patience. It's been a hell of a long time since my last proper upload. I've had a bit of an unplanned time off, and I kind of alluded to that at the start of this video, but I hope that I'm back now. I originally thought I'd be back in April, and I had a whole other video planned. I was going to review the new Snow White movie, and to be honest, I just fell out of interest with the topic. I just wasn't as interested as I was originally when I started, so I slacked it off, because I'm a lazy bastard. But I picked up my socks eventually, and here we are now, I guess. It's nice to be back, and I hope to get back onto the regular schedule that I had before, one long video a month, and a few shit posts in between if I've got the time and I'm on my toes. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for your support while I've been away, and I hope to see you again soon. Remember to eat your greens and polish your shoes, and don't do any drugs, because that way there will be more of them for me.